Here's the probes. Randy, and then we had the end par out. He's fixing to do some grinding here.
Yeah, and safety first.
The list of artists, legendary and new, goes on and on.
Okay, guys, as you can see, it's 4:28 in the morning, Saturday, April 8th, and yeah, we fell asleep. We've been to bed, but I got up. I had an epiphany, if you will, and I got up and I've been working on the in-par, on the probe. And what we're doing on the probe, what I found was, whoa, Omaha, whoa, coming dog out here, whoa, you're fine, you're all right. What I found was that some of my tubing for the pressure switch for the end par actually became dislodged or moved, in other words. Now, the way this is set up, and I need to be careful here, but the way it's set up is we have you have 4 inputs and one output, if you will. So each one of the pressure ports is an input on the outside of the probe, and then we have one output coming to the end par. There's a $10,000, $9,600, almost $10,000 pressure switch inside, and of course it records P waves, blah blah blah. You guys get my point. But what we're doing here is we're engineering a different layout, if you will. As you guys know, most of you know, I'm an engineer by trade, and so I fix shit. And I'm always working and tinkering and fixing shit. So what we're doing here is we're fixing a little bit of the problems that we've been having. So that's where we're at. There we go. We're going to try to put this heat sink on as best we can. Dang it. And all we're doing here, there we go. All we're doing here is we've actually mounted this in a case so that it can go inside of the Cyclops, inside of the probe, his probe, just like mine, but it's going to take up substantially less room because Randy's just worried about the pressure perturbations. That's all we want to really worry about. All right, so we need to skip one lead here, and then our ground goes out because it's a 3 volts out. See, what we're trying to do is get this in there, just like that. Last thing you want is a cold solder joint, but you don't want to burn the board either. So that's what we're attempting not to do, is to burn the board. So we've got our negative and our positive leads on there. Good. All right, guys, we're trying to write some code here is what we're trying to do. And what we're attempting to do, see if it reboots. All right, it is rebooting, so we are in lock. You guys can tell I got bags under my eyes, and I'm been trying to write code for Randy so that we can get his unit set up correctly. And I'm running in some trouble, but this is what happens. It's science, and a lot of people don't quite understand the concept of a private science in this application. So we have to do it on our own, man. I mean, it is what it is. So all right, guys, we're out here in the garage, and we're working on the probe itself, on the end par, and what we're doing is we're adding another pressure port to simply go directly. We're going to try to feed pressure to the or close to the pressure switch itself, not the in-par switch, pressure switch, where we receive P waves, but the actual pressure switch itself. So that's what we're doing right now. We got Randy's computer set up. I've written the code and got all that taken care of. Pat Wynn, actually, another member of the PACRITEX team, got that set up. So we're trying to drill another hole to put a fitting in. I'll show you the fitting. So this is the fitting that we're going to try to put in. I don't know how well you guys can see this. Of course, again, this in-par. The in-par probe is scratched up from tornadoes. But what we've done is we've put another pressure port, if you will, on it. And this particular pressure port, as I said, is gonna be able to let air in. If you want to call it that. I think we'll reach equilibrium on the pressure quicker this way. Well, we've got our trusty, dusty, kind of ratty JB Weld here we're going to be using. We've got the pin in the in-par, and it's held tight, but we're going to put some JB Weld on it, on the inside of it, obviously, so it holds tight, stays steady. And then we'll just kind of go from there. So we got the pressure port in, and right now what we've got is we've got some basic JB Weld on it, and then siliconed a little bit on the outside, just in case for rain. You know, there is going to get some moisture in there, but we'll tube it up eventually. So there's what she looks like. Of course, you guys can see all my pressure tubing here, straight back to the in-par itself. This is the in-par, but ultimately our split for each pressure port to the in-par. This is our acoustics. Of course, we'll have our computer and then data logger, of course, and then pressure switch, humidity, dew point temperature, blah, blah, blah. All that's going to be logged separately, independently of the acoustics, so that there's no confusion whatsoever. Of course, Randy's Cyclops will be substantially different. Obviously, we'll have the data logger mounted in his, the data logger and computer, and then of course his pressure switch, which he will have pressure, temperature, humidity, and altimeter is what Randy will have in Cyclops. That's kind of where we're at now. So, just so you guys know, all of this is done by you guys, and certainly by us. This is a privately funded scientific project. It certainly we don't have the ability to go out and get government grants like some and taxpayer dollars. You know, so we build our own equipment, right down to the wiring on the breadboard. I do all that. Pat does part of the coding. I do some of the coding. The majority of the coding Pat does. He's kind of picked that up. Bless his heart. Thank you. But and then Randy and I will kind of shell out, try to get the probes out with Lisa. And Chris Rice. That's kind of what we're doing. Now, as far as meteorology side of it, of course, we all have that. We all have the ability. But David Moran is our lead meteorologist. Conversely, he's got a Bachelor of Science in Mathematics and a Bachelor of Science in Atmospheric Sciences. So as you guys can imagine, David's super smart, very good friend of mine. And David knows code as well, but David's trying to take part of what we're doing and help us, so we get the data. Hopefully we get the data, and we've already got it. You guys haven't seen some of that. We get the data. Hopefully we'll be able to graph it, get it off to David, even Pat, and get it off to David, and then we start writing the paper. Currently, we're still writing the paper on the Bennington Chapman event, but the paper, and conversely the El Reno paper, but conversely, that's the goal here, and that's why we need your help. That's what we're trying to do. So this probe, my end part, just so you guys know, one more time, we have 3 probes. We have the Cyclops. That's Randy's. That's his baby. It's got a 360 camera in it. You guys can certainly look. Then we've got the 5.0 probe. It's got 360 cameras, 5 GoPros around it, 1 on top, 4 around. Of course, this one's got the 360 camera on it, as well as all the electronics. Then you also have Cyclops, which has the 360 probe on it as well, kind of down in it. So if we had one more probe to set out accordingly a little further, the way we set them out is about every 20, 30, 40 yards, 50 yards, whatever it is. And a tornado, we want that tornado to pass directly over one of these, but between them as well, if that makes sense, so we can cross-reference. Now, as an engineer, I'm writing code. I'm the one building this. So Randy's he's the fabricator. He fabricated all the probes, and a wonderful welder and fabricator he is. So that's a little bit about us, a little about what we're doing, and you just saw me put some stuff on the actual computer, and then now we're slowly trying to get everything ready. So it's going to take a little while, but we're getting ready for storm season. We're trying. Hang with us, guys. We're trying to get the data, and then the peer review process happens via David Moran and I. David is going to help us immensely. So smart, wonderful guy. There's a backstory behind David. David has cerebral palsy, and what a wonderful guy he is. For a guy who has that condition, to go and get a Bachelor of Science in Mathematics and a Bachelor of Science in Meteorology and Atmospheric Sciences, he's an unbelievably good friend of mine, and we value him. We value everybody. So that's where we're at. That's what we're doing. Hope you guys enjoyed it thus far. I've got a lot of work to do. Stay tuned. And guys, again, I don't want to beg. That's not what we're trying to do. We don't want to go a GoFundMe and all that other crap. It's you guys. This right here is privately. I'm shelling out money left and right. Randy is, Lisa is. We're in the hole already. So it's funding from you guys. It's almost public funding from you guys that help us do this. So I would ask that you really reconsider. The donate button is on the website, www.PACRITEX.org, and that's common spelling, PACRITEX.org.